Hi, welcome back to Let's Talk About It, a podcast about leadership development. It's brought to you by the Lesniak Institute for American Leadership, a nonprofit located at Kean University's campus. We are your hosts. My name is Felipe.
And I'm Claudia.
And today we have a very special guest. She is a previous intern at the Institute and is currently studying public administration here at Kean University. She is currently an intern at the Urban League of Union County working as a caseworker assistant. It is Gabriella Manresa.
Hi.
Hey,
I'm so
Gabby.
excited to be on.
How are you?
I'm very good.
Thanks for taking the trip to our office. And today's episode is really going to be structured around something that we take pride in, which is our internships. And I think it's very important to tell the story about our internships, and who better to tell the story about our internships than you. So I'm really excited to have you on.
I'm really excited too.
So I guess our first question would be, what made you want to become an intern at the Lesniak Institute?
So as some people might know, the senator and the executive director, which is Felipe, but at the time was Sarah, teach classes at Kean University. And one of them is public social movements, which is an elective for my major, public administration. And I took the class because I'm really interested in advocacy and nonprofit work, and I thought it was just perfect. And being in the class, hearing the senator talk about his institute and all that he's been able to accomplish through it, I knew that that was something that I wanted to learn more about. And when they announced that they actually, have the internship and their summer applications were opening up, I jumped at the opportunity because it just seemed so exciting and the perfect place to learn about nonprofit, because I'd never worked or interned at a nonprofit before. So this was the first time.
Mm-hmm. So what made you want to what made you want to go into the nonprofit world?
So my interests lie in criminal justice reform and prison reentry. And I actually had no idea how you go upon that career path, how you get that. So I learned about public administration as a major, and I learned that with it, you can either work in nonprofit management or you can work in government. And it seems that, those are the two biggest places where you can make change. And when I learned about nonprofits in the area that work in criminal justice reform, I realized that that would be the perfect place to be able to advocate. And this being a center for advocacy, an institute that, takes pride in that, I figured it was the perfect place to learn about legislation and, how change is actually made.
Very well said. Very well said. And this is so interesting because during the summer you were an intern, but so was Claudia.
Mm-hmm.
So you guys were interning together. So you guys could kind of both talk about how it was during the summer being an intern here.
Yeah.
Summer besties.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Me and Claudia met, and it's so funny because we're both students at Kean University and we'd never crossed paths before. But, we instantly clicked, and I thought that it was a really fun summer. We worked so well together, and we got so much done. Our interests weren't all the same. I know Claudia has a lot of other interests in environmental change and all that stuff, but you don't realize how everything kind of goes together. I learned a lot about how sustainability does equal social justice, and all these things do connect. So it's so good because, had I gone in maybe to somewhere just criminal justice reform, I would have never met people with different ideas and realized how so many avenues of advocacy are actually linked. And, to help one person, you have to help everyone kind of. So it was really interesting, meeting Claudia and hearing her interests and things that she found really important.
Ditto. I'm going to retweet that.
That was good.
Yeah, I definitely learned a lot from you because I was interested in criminal justice, but I had never had a class about it. I had never met anyone who had the same ideas about me. And then I came here, and then you were very passionate about it, and so was Brittany. And I definitely learned a lot. We had some pretty cool conversations over the actually even now, we all text and
Yeah, definitely. Brittany was someone also that kind of pushed me toward the Institute because I didn't really know that the senator focused on so many different avenues. And in class, he actually spoke about how he helped to abolish the death penalty in New Jersey. And I think that was something else that really inspired me because I didn't, I feel like that things are the way that they are, but you don't always know why or how. And, for the class, we read the books that he had written about how he did it. And it's just so interesting, how one person can help institute so much change, can inspire so many other people to step towards something. I mean, it was hard to imagine how recent, in the grand scheme of things, the death penalty being abolished in New Jersey was. And meeting someone like Senator Lesniak, who has tried to, make so much change and has accomplished it and still fights to continue to make change, is also really inspiring. And, working amongst people who have that same drive as him was something that was really beneficial and, continuing to push me to, have that hope and, be excited for the future.
Yeah, Senator Lesniak definitely inspires all of us.
Yeah.
And you and Brittany definitely had a connection, because I knew she was very passionate about criminal justice, and that's something that you were passionate about as well. And it was awesome to see like you guys work together and talk about like your future goals and stuff. Brittany actually now works for the New Jersey Reentry Corporation as a caseworker. So, and she was also previously an intern as well at the Institute.
Oh, really? That I didn't know.
She was an intern before I was here as well. And then she ended up getting a full-time position, and now she's a caseworker and works in their Jim McGravy. So it's pretty awesome.
Yeah,
and I know you started a new internship recently too.
Yes.
That has to do with criminal justice.
Yeah, so the Urban League of Union County, they do so much, but they have a Reconnections program, and now more recently too, they do a New Jersey Leads grant they have that helps certain people reentering get more housing assistance and other resources as well. So they do so much too, and it's not just with the reentry population, but they do a lot with them. They just started like a financial literacy workshop that they wanted, which I think is so important, because so much changes when you're away in prison and you don't even realize. I mean, now imagine coming out into the world where Bitcoin exists, and you have no idea what that means. So it's like it's really interesting working with people who have those similar passions and are able to institute change. And I mean, they're in Union County. I feel like when people think of big avenues of change, they think like national, or they think like big cities like New York. And I didn't even
there's
realize,
a prison in Rahway.
Yeah, there's so many prisons in New Jersey,
like,
and there's
crazy.
so many organizations that advocate for them and do reform, but if you never look, you'd never know. Similar with Governor McGreevy's organization, New Jersey NJRC. I didn't know that they existed either until Governor McGreevy came and spoke in Senator Lesniak's class about it. And it's just inspiring, like people right here, right next to you in a town right over are struggling and are being assisted, and you can help them. You don't have to go far to do that.
I think, I know in the Institute, we had a meeting with the ombuds person of the prison, which is basically like the person that connects the public and the prison, kind of that middle person. Senator Lesniak and I met with that person, and we were talking about the Isolated Confinement Act with them. Okay. Because we were receiving some letters basically saying that some of the prisoners weren't getting enough recreational time, and they were spending like days in their cells, sometimes even weeks, without seeing outside at all. And that has a lot of effects on your mental health and everything like that. So we met with the ombuds person, and we're trying to really change the act and really have the prisons implement it. We're also meeting with the executive director of the Departments of Corrections, I think in a week or two. And we're going to talk about Earn Your Way Out.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, which is a bill basically so that people who are incarcerated or in that population could earn their way out of prison.
I remember seeing that on the Institute's website when I was first researching it, and it's nice to see that it's finally coming into fruition. I mean, stuff like that takes a long time.
Yeah, I feel like with criminal justice, like a lot of people advocate for bills, and I feel like there's enough bills already. It's really just about implementing them, and like making sure everyone gets the fair treatment that they deserve. That's what I think. But yeah, besides your current internship, going back to what you did here at the Institute, we went to some pretty cool events while you were an intern over the summer. I remember we went to a trip to DC to reunite Ukrainian orphans with their American families. So can you tell us a little bit about your personal experience and how the Institute kind of supported you during that whole experience?
Yeah, that was really like an emotional experience. It was, first of all, when we were asked to go, that was already in itself an amazing opportunity. So, I jumped at the chance. And again, like my interests are in criminal justice, but of course I'm always, open to other advocacies other forms of advocacy and advocating for many other groups of people. And with everything happening right now in Ukraine, it was so interesting to go, especially because, again, like when you're on the outside, you don't realize how many people are actually being affected, or like how bad it still is, or how bad it continues to get. So understanding that there were families that were trying to save children from Ukraine, trying to adopt them, make them family, and they were being stopped is like so sad because, you know, it's terrible, and you don't realize that this is even happening. So seeing the senator advocate for those children, for those families who just wanted their sons and daughters to be able to come home with them was really emotional. And the work that the parents themselves are doing for their children was really, really inspiring. You know, it takes a really brave person to be super raw and emotional like that. You know, they're fighting for their children, and they have to beg legislators, and they have to talk about really sore and personal points for them. They have to talk about the torment that their children are going through that they can't save them from. So it was an inspiring event, and, you know, the work that Senator Lesniak continues to do in his personal connection with the cause was really impactful as well. And, you know, we saw so many people talk, and, you know, videos of other parents that couldn't make it but were sharing their stories, and it was just an amazing experience.
Yep. We're still actually working on that till this day.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. Because we got some supportive legislators, but we still need like 2 or 3 more to jump on board, and then we could really get this thing going. So
Wow.
that's what Senator Lesniak is also working on still, like getting meetings with specific congressmen and congresswomen to really get the ball rolling on this.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So I remember during that trip, Kevin, myself, and Senator went. We took the train, and you and Matthew, which was another one of our previous interns, you guys drove down. And I remember that day, the first day we went, where we met up at the first time we met, it was like not at the hotel, it was somewhere else. And then Senator Lesniak and I had to go to the hotel, and he told me, like, he was like, oh, we could just walk. I remember this. He was like, we could just walk. And I was like, okay, sure, let's walk. And it ended up being like a 3-mile walk. Like in the summer, and it was so hot out.
He was not happy.
we were like halfway through it, and he was like, let's order an Uber. And I was like, okay. And he was like, no, you know what, no, let's bang it out, let's just keep walking. No, but when we did arrive to the hotel, we finally met, and we all like checked into our rooms and stuff. I remember that like moment pretty vividly.
Yeah, Senator was enjoying his time in the well air conditioned like rest area after that walk. But yeah, that was funny.
Yeah, I remember that. Another thing we did while you were an intern over the summer, which is something we do every year, we did the Pride flag raising, which is basically hosted by Elizabeth, the town of Elizabeth, where we raised the Pride flag up in City Hall. And I remember you were a big part of that as well.
Yeah, that event was, again, like when you're doing advocacy, it's always so emotional. But something that, like an amazing story I'd love to share from that day is, you know, we went, and I grew up in Elizabeth, and I didn't even know that they did that. So being there when it's like 5 minutes down from, you know, where I grew up, where my mom still lives, was really interesting. And, you know, we were there, and we were raising the flag, and I remember before the flag was officially raised, we were all gathered and we were listening to the speakers, and I actually bumped into this guy on the outskirts of like the event, and he was asking me like, oh, like what's happening here? And you know, I told him about the event and all that stuff, and it turns out that he was actually there to pick up his brand new birth certificate with his proper pronouns. And that was just so emotional and inspiring, because I know other people in my life who are part of that community who have either had the opportunity to do things like that or have not had the opportunities to do that just yet. And, you know, it's why we celebrate it, why we raise the pride flag every year, right? To celebrate moments like that. So I just felt like it was so perfect. And like, what is it, like kismet, you know, like him being there that day to pick up his new birth certificate, and us being there to raise the pride flag.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
I remember seeing him emotional that day.
Yeah.
That was interesting.
So one of the other like really, really big events that we had over the summer, and it was right when we started working on the gala. And I know you worked pretty closely with Felipe on it. Can you talk about like what your role was as an intern, like helping out with planning and putting together the gala.
Mm-hmm. So my like title when I was here was service specialist intern. So I worked really closely with Felipe, and it, you know, I really just helped him with he had so much to do. So we were just kind of, you know, going down
I just
his
started
checklist.
at that time too.
Really? Yeah. And
I was like a month into my job.
He had just started. He had all this stuff thrown onto his lap. So we were kind of just like sorting through his like his to-do list. And you know, we were doing things like picking out favors, choosing colors for like the theme, picking out, I think like names as well. Like there was so much to do and so many final details to be arranged, but it was just so amazing. So I did like the planning part with Felipe. We worked on all like the details like that, and then on the other side of it was we were also trying to get you know, we were getting the word out there about it and getting funding, selling tickets. So you know, we were really just like, you know, calling people who have supported in the past or that we have connections with, and it was a busy time.
It was important too because the gala really like the support and the donations we get like from the gala really fund like the institute. Like for example, like the DC trip, that stuff is funded by like our donors from like the gala. So it was really important for us to get in contact with everyone and just let them know about what was happening. And I remember you played a really big role, like personally for me, like just helping me out with everything and just making like my life a lot easier. So yeah, thank you so much for that. I don't know if I ever said thank you, but
yeah, it was a lot of fun. We were like we were looking for like raffle stuff, and I know that like us as interns too, we found so many other cool stuff. So like now, like I'm excited to see what you guys do with the next gala, because I know that there were so many opportunities that because of the notice we couldn't take advantage of, but like we banked them for like the future. So that'll be really exciting to see. But it was definitely really rewarding that night, like seeing it all come together, seeing everybody enjoy themselves, all the people who came out to support the institute, and it was just it was amazing.
Yeah. So from like your previous experiences, what would you say was like your favorite part about being an intern here?
I mean, obviously like planning the events and like all that stuff like was really, really cool. But something that I think gave me like really important experience was writing the blog posts for the institute, because like I've always loved writing, but I feel like you get nervous like talking about things that are important to you, because you're like, what if no one else thinks that this is important, or like what if someone doesn't like what we're saying about this. But again, like it's an advocacy institute, like you have to talk about the hard things, you have to say things that maybe no one else is prepared to hear. So it was really important to me to write those blog posts, because I felt like it gave me a chance to use my voice and to, you know, really tailor my writing and to tailor my thoughts. And it gave me a lot of experience too, like researching all the current legislation, researching issues that are affecting us locally, nationally. So I think like career-wise, the blog posts were really important to me as like myself. But again, like all the events were really fun to plan and to attend, and really educational as well.
And you were published on our website, but you also got published on the New Jersey website.
Yeah. So that was also published on NJ.com as like an op-ed, which was really, really exciting too. I remember Felipe and Sarah fought so hard because they had submitted them from the class, because it was like a very, very similar like written thing. So they had submitted them from the class, and then like no one had heard back. So then I had Felipe and Sarah advocating for me to follow up like where that was going to go. And when it was finally published, it was like crazy. Like my parents always bring that up too, which is so funny.
Really?
They're always like, can you find that blog post so I can show it to my friends, or like show it to your family? So that was also a really rewarding experience.
Was that the blog about community policing?
That was the one about it was a bill. I can't remember the bill off the top of my head, but it was the one about ensuring that people that came out of county jails had ID.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Because that's like a huge issue and it's so crazy, because that is almost every reentry organization does that, like tries to get ID. So it's insane that it's not something that's mandated by law, because like people struggle, they come out, they have no form of identification, and then they can't get a lot of services or resources. But actually at a urban league, they have like a task force, and they've been talking about that with like people who work in probation and parole. They want to try to ask the Department of Corrections, like this should be mandatory for anyone who comes out, you know, from incarceration.
And then I'm pretty sure you have like the most popular blog on our website
Really?
as well.
Yeah, you do.
Right, Claude?
It's our most like viewed vlog.
Is it
and,
the
like, looked at.
DeSantis one?
No, it's the community policing
Is it
one.
really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
It has like the most reads, I'm pretty sure.
Wow. Oh, that's so exciting. I did not know that. Yeah, the community policing one, that one's really important too, because community policing is, I mean, it's about community. It's about building that trust between, you know, law enforcement and the people.
Yeah,
And like,
it's basically
yeah.
like having like the citizens of a community like be accountable for each other, like other people in the community.
Yeah,
too.
and like a lot of people are scared of that, you know,
Yeah.
especially in like areas like urban areas where people don't trust the police, or maybe they're scared of getting in trouble from other people. So it's really important to have that sense of community to, you know, not feel policed, but to feel protected,
Yeah.
you know, and that's what community policing really tries to push.
There's definitely like a negative connotation about police in urban areas specifically.
Yeah.
Yeah, like they don't trust them, or they're scared of them, or they just think they're just trying to mess with them.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. So I think that topic was really important, especially like in the area where we're living in right now,
Yeah.
like Union County type area where it's a lot of urban schools. Like Elizabeth, I know you went to Elizabeth too, right?
I did.
You were-
Until middle school. I didn't go there for high school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What school did you go to?
I went to school 7,
School 7.
which is Terrence C. Riley.
right.
Yeah.
I remember you telling me that.
Yeah, because that's how we found out. But you went to 31, which was like its sister school, because they're like the gifted and talented schools of Elizabeth. Yeah, so Felipe went to 31.
Do you like recall a specific experience in Elizabeth where you're like, oh, I'm in Elizabeth right now? You know what I'm trying to say?
I mean, like, what's so different is like after I moved out of Elizabeth, and like again, like my mom still lives there, but I live with my dad. So every time I go back with my mom, I remember it. But like there was just so much noise, always police sirens, ambulance. We had like a stoop outside, and like people love to like sit there and talk on the phone or like get in arguments, and you know, you'd walk up our driveway and there's just like trash littered everywhere. But now I'm so used to the quiet, and then when I go back to my mom's house, if I ever have to spend the night, I'm like, it's so loud. Like I'm not used to it anymore.
That's so funny. I went through the same thing, literally the same thing with the noise and everything. And I live like downtown, so it didn't really smell that good either over there. Like,
Yeah,
it
I
didn't
mean,
smell too good.
yeah, for all of the things with Elizabeth, I will say I really enjoyed the middle school I went to and the public
Yeah.
school system.
No, for sure. I
Yeah.
made like some of the like friends that I still have to this day, and also I feel like in that environment you learn so much.
Yeah, the diversity.
The diversity, yeah. There's so much diversity. I know Senator Lesniak's also from Elizabeth. He's like been in Elizabeth his whole life. But yeah, that's pretty cool. So we're both Elizabeth heads. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Shout out Elizabeth.
So you had like a lot of different roles during your time at the Institute. You helped Felipe out with a lot of different areas, and you got to work on your own research and publishing your own work. What would you say about the internship, like something that you got out of our internship that's not super common that you would get out of other internships?
What I really liked about my internship here is like it felt like with Felipe and Kevin, and at the time Brittany, like you felt equal, like you felt heard. Like I know that a lot of people struggle when they find internships, that they just feel like an errand person, or they feel like they just do what they're told. I feel like when you intern here, there's so much room for creativity, for growth, for learning. And you know, like Felipe will listen to your ideas, you know, like he wants you to really learn and to, you know, look into your interests. You know, again, like this is just advocacy. So what are you passionate about? What is something that you think that the Institute should explore more? So that's what I really, really liked from this internship. And I think it was great that it was my first experience with an internship, because it didn't make me so scared to find others. But yeah, I had a great experience. And I, again, like, yeah, just that being heard, wanting, them wanting us to grow as people, and, listening to our ideas was really important to me.
Did the Institute have anything to do with you getting like other internships or other opportunities?
Yes. So like we've mentioned, Brittany now works at NJRC, and Governor McGreevy actually came to speak at one of Senator Lesniak's classes. And I'll never forget, Sarah was there too. And, we were talking, and I went up to Governor McGreevy and I was telling him like, oh, I'm so interested in prison reform, and I had no idea that your organization, blah, blah, blah. And he actually told me that they take interns, and he gave me his phone number.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He gave me his phone number, and I remember Sarah was like,
cool.
he doesn't give out his phone number that easily. So I still have it. And unfortunately for the summer, they were full. And then that's how I ended up I had wanted to do that one or this one, and then that one had already filled up because they're also like mostly law students is what they take for NJRC. But then when Brittany went there, she really, advocated for me and, pushed for me. And I was able to get an internship with their legal service coordinator at their Newark office. And again, like that was also such a rewarding experience. And I owe her so much thanks for that because that was my first time stepping into a role where, I was getting a taste of like the work that I wanted to do as a career. So that was really awesome.
So you would say the Lesniak Institute definitely helped you in your career path?
I would say that the Lesniak Institute definitely helped me in my career path. I mean, all the connections I made are so strong, Sarah, I still see her around campus sometimes, and I still talk to her sometimes. Brittany, I see every now and then as well. You guys, I still talk to. So it's just
senator.
like
so cool.
Everyone. Yeah, the senator. And that's the thing too, like when you're either in class or you intern here, like the senator's always like, if you ever need anything, like don't be afraid to reach out. He loves talking about his connections and all the amazing people that he knows, and he loves showing off the people that work for him.
Well, we're heading towards the tail end of our podcast here, so I think now we could really focus on the future and kind of just ask you questions like, do you want to share anything with the people here about what you're doing, what you're passionate about, like a message you want to spread?
I guess, I would, because when I found what my interest was, I mean, there are so many people already working toward it and doing such amazing things, but I feel like in a school environment, I never really met a lot of people who had the same interests as me. So I feel like, just like chase your interest, don't be knocked down, because when I first learned about, in high school about all this stuff about prison reform, criminal justice reform, and all those things happening, and I would tell people close to me about my interests, they would be like, why? Like, how are you going to make money with that? How are you going to do this? And I feel like don't let people discourage you. Yeah, because you will find your community. Yeah, like you will. And even now, like I feel like there's so much misconception about nonprofit. I've had so many people ask me like, well, are you going to get paid if you work at a nonprofit? And I'm like, yes, you get paid. Yes, you get benefits. Yes, you get all those things. So like there is a community out there for you, like there are people who are going to share your interests. You're going to find people who are making that change or trying to make that change. And I mean, that's probably what I want to share. Like, I'm really excited to see where my future goes. Every day I meet more and more people who are already doing the hard work, and I'm just excited to be one of them.
I think, Claudia, you have a question?
No.
I
was just gonna say period.
Yeah, literally. I think we all feel the same way.
Yeah.
So I guess my last question would be, would you recommend being an intern at the Lesniak Institute?
Definitely. I've had people ask me because, they always saw me like talking with Sarah or, talking about you, and, they've asked me before about the Institute and, when are their internships open and when is this and that? And, I always, I've reached out to you before too, asking about it because I always recommend to people, definitely do it. I think it is such a great opportunity to learn about advocacy, to learn about how a nonprofit runs. And like, you're going to make relationships that are going to last, and you're going to get a lot of experience that's going to be really, really helpful to you. So I would definitely recommend interning at the Lesniak Institute.
Well, Gabby, thank you so much for stopping by and having a conversation with us. We really love you. And
I love you guys too. Thank you for inviting me.
You're the best intern ever. That's pretty much it. Thank you guys for listening. That has been another episode of Let's Talk About It, and we will talk to you guys later.
Bye.
Awesome.